Unless it's more than one chapter. Although I have done, there is precedent for having 2 chapters and 1 question from each chapter, but usually it's 2 questions per chapter. Yeah, it is recording. Any other questions? I believe we last left off. That's right. It was the double ramped system, if I recall correctly. Where the rope on the right side was parallel to the ramp and the one on the left side is not parallel to the ramp. Probably labeled that A and B. All right, anything else I missed from before? All right, we're doing force diagrams here. So let's break it up into the 4 objects. What are the 4 objects I'm going to break it up into?
Box A, box B,
The rope.
and the pulley. Are you
The ramp.
saying it's?
Ramp and pulley
Yeah, yeah.
is one thing. So A, B, all right. We have our checklist here. And I want to do friction last. All right, so first off, is there anything that we can eliminate? Okay. And that's it. All right, so let's start with the gravitational force, aka weight in this situation. Is there any weight in the problem? I got a slight nod from 1. 2. 2 people think that there's weight. 3. 4. Okay. Weight's acting on what object? In which direction?
Box B going down.
Yeah.
And then from the ground going up.
So I have weight of B, and don't forget the subscripts. And then weight of B acting up there.
Same deal with A.
And for those who take that too literally, different subscripts. And we have to have subscripts because we have 2 different weights there. Assume an ideal rope and an ideal pulley. If we did have friction between the rope and pulley, we'd have to break the rope would have to be broken up into 2 pieces. But all right, so that's it. Boom. I have only 2 small objects with mass, and so I have my 2 weights. What else? I want to do friction last. There is indeed friction, but I want to do that one last. For a reason which I will reveal when we get there.
Tension
Okay, acting which way? On what?
between box A and the string.
Okay, so which way am I drawing it on A?
So on A, it should be from the string towards A, and then A should be from box pointing towards the string.
Like that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Rookie mistake, whatever the next one is.
Number 7. That's number 7.
Number 7, rookie mistake number 7. Pointing the tension at where the string is drawn in the separate diagram. You wanna do it at the end of the rope first, or? James, tell me what you want.
I think the arrow should be pointing away from the string, on the box, away from the string.
So I'm drawing this on the box,
Small.
away from the string,
Away from the string.
like that.
No. So.
Does somebody want to help James out, or are you just enjoying watching him squirm?
I thought it was what he said originally, because on a prior one, on like the cliff, we had tension like towards each other.
That is true. We should have tensions pointing towards each other. When the first thing that he said is, I said, you mean like that? That is not correct. I would take off of that.
So it needs to be the same direction. So if we're talking about A, it needs to be going down the string in the direction of the string and then back towards the string on box A. So they need to be facing each other.
Okay, so on the string, I'm drawing it,
Down the string, exactly how,
all right, like that.
yes,
So tension. And then on A, in the opposite direction,
but the exact same in the opposite direction, yeah.
like that. I wasn't sure if that's what you intended when you said it, James.
Yeah, kind of. I didn't know that you had to be really specific about where it was
Yeah.
pointing.
It's only because I specifically drew the string so that it was not parallel to the ramp. And also, I've seen too many times people draw the tension and they point it towards the tip of the string in the separate diagram. When the string is acting like this, it's sort of along that line right there. It's not acting along this line right here.
Yeah.
All right, and then I have a string, so I'm gonna have to have tensions at each end.
So the end of the rope, straight towards the box. And then the box, straight towards the tip of that one.
Yeah. And these forces are parallel to the ramp because I drew the rope parallel to the ramp. What is, sorry?
What is
FT is tension.
And that's it for tension.
Yep. Because I have only one rope, so at each end. I do have a question about tension before we get too far. What about subscripts? Do we need subscripts?
I would say yes, because they're at different angles. One's going with the ramp, one's not.
So which ones would get the same subscript?
One's on the same side of the string.
Yeah, okay. So these two would have the same subscript. These two would have the same subscript.
Correct.
However, because it's an ideal rope, you actually don't need the subscripts for the same rope.
Okay.
On the force diagram problem, the complex force diagram problem you'll have on the test, I'm perfectly fine if you want to put them in there.
Okay.
But just for an ideal rope, that's going to become critical when we actually start to solve problems, solve for acceleration, that if these tensions are not the same at each end of the rope, then we need to bring in another equation. And we're going to wait till chapter 9 to do that. All right, so I'm going to, in a different color, put in subscript, and these subscripts in this problem at this point in the course are optional. So subscripted subscript. Normal.
So for A, would the normal force be, it's gonna be going out like that?
Like that?
Yes. And then on the ramp, the opposite direction, yes. And then on B, just like that, and then down on the ramp.
Just be careful about the wording there. I know what you intended, because you had that one. Down, again, down is that way. But I assume you would have drawn it correctly. All right, we have, oh, well, we got one more pair.
The pulley and the rope.
Yep. Now, it is touching the pulley from basically here to here, so the normal force is gonna be somewhere in that direction within there, so just split the difference. And there's not enough information to know exactly the direction of the normal force here, but we can narrow it down to, you know, somewhere around there. Y sub, let's go for R for rope. All right, those are the only points of contact. Again, rope and box B and rope and box A. There is contact there, but that's what we're calling tension, so don't double up on calling it two different forces. All right, and now we're left with friction. That's right. If this were a frictionless situation, which way would it go?
Are the boxes the same weight?
Not necessarily.
From the picture, I'm gonna say it's gonna go towards B.
So B is going down and A is going up,
Yes.
and you put a qualifier in there based upon the picture. What aspects of the picture make you think that?
The right side of the ramp looks steeper, and the rope is parallel with the slope.
All right, and you brought up masses. He's bringing up the angle.
And my assumption is if one was heavier than the other, just, gravity would pull it down, the other one would just go with it.
All right, it turns out it actually depends upon mass. The two big things are mass and the angle. And Jacob's also right. The direction of the tension also plays a factor in it. So there is not enough information in this problem to know which way friction is going to act. So if the problem were just a force diagram problem, then I would need to tell you. If this were part of a larger problem where I actually wanted you to find the acceleration, I would have to give you, the angles down here, I have to give you the masses, I have to tell you this angle right here for you to be able to calculate it. So for the sake of this, I'm gonna say that it's gonna slide this way. So which way is friction acting on box A?
For the box, will it be acting the way that it's gonna be going? So on these were up towards the ramp.
Up towards the ramp.
So in the direction that is sliding
So friction is gonna be pushing this along?
on the box, and then is it gonna be on the slope? Is it in the opposite direction?
And Craig, you were saying something else?
I was just trying to tell him pulley instead of ramp.
Okay. So you're saying that on the box, it's going that way.
Yes.
So which way is A gonna slide? I see. Yeah, A's gonna slide that way. Friction hates sliding.
It wants to oppose it.
Yep, it's gonna be going down. Friction is trying to stop whatever it thinks that object's doing. So, yes, because friction is sentient. So friction is acting this way on A and then up the ramp on B. Oh, wow. What's the mistake I just made? I know I said something wrong, but I wrote something wrong, more importantly here.
This, yep.
Yep. So acting up on the ramp, up the ramp. Yeah, gotta be careful about my wording too. So friction is acting on the ramp, up the ramp. And then B. Okay, I think that's your hand gesture?
Friction's going that way.
Friction's going this way?
If B's going down that way, so friction be going up.
Straight up?
With the
Friction's
ramp.
always parallel to the
Parallel
surface.
with the ramp.
Yeah, it is, at an angle. There's my F and B, and then down there. Now, if you did not give yourself much room on your paper, you probably are noticing, wait a second, this is looking mighty small here. And some people write bigger than others, and on the test, it's always a joy to try to figure out what people are doing. Typically, I don't do this. I don't feel like I gave myself enough space there, so I'm just gonna draw a line to differentiate my objects here. We could call them force tectonics. That's right, you were there when that expression first got made. So when your kids come home and they talk about force tectonics, you'll go, yeah, I was there. Questions? Then let's do a test level problem. Let's see. So, people are still jotting that down. Over here. That makes stick figures, right? Let's make it more family. I generally call it dad pulling son on sled or boy on sled, but he's actually pulling the sled and boy's on it, but I still call it dad pulling boy on sled. So this is a test level problem. So let's go through it. As you can tell, my artwork is just spot on. Oh, and they are moving to the right, and they are accelerating to the right. All right, so I've got ground, and let's put the hash marks in there just to emphasize this is some fixed surface. I have sled. I have sun. I have rope. And I have dad. I'm just gonna give myself more space here, so I'm not changing anything fundamental. So on a test, I would set up the situation here, then I'd give you the split diagram, and usually it's over 2 pages, because the description of what's going on takes, a quarter or a third of a page, and then the drawing usually takes up the entire page. So the instructions, I set up the scenario, then I say, draw the forces on the diagram on the next page. Some people will still cram the diagram on something like this. Please don't. Please turn the page over and actually do it on where it's supposed to be. And again, I would like to wait to do friction at the end. All right, so can we get rid of anything? I think you said other. All right. There might be one exception to it, but usually other gets eliminated in the complex when I keep it self-contained. All right, so what do you want to tackle first?
Gravity.
All right. So what has a weight?
The dad and the sled.
The dad? All right, so W sub D. And let's do the pairs. Where's the other part of that pair?
The ground.
A ground.
Acting. Okay, and then you said
The sled.
the sled, all right? So weight of sled, Anything else?
The child and.
All right, so I'm gonna do D for boy. Now, this is inspired by me with my own son, who's now 28. Feel free to make dad pulling daughter on sled, or mom pulling son on sled, or however you want to do it. Don't feel like it has to be confined. Their gender does not define the problem.
Would the weight of the sun be on the sled or on the ground?
Ground. Weight is between the small object and the planet or moon.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the one force that does not require, one force we've dealt with so far that does not require contact between the objects.
May I use the restroom?
Oh, yeah, you don't need to ask, just. I am making the assumption that you're all adults, whether the law says so or not. So if you need to step out, I'm assuming you're doing it for a good reason. Anything else with weight?
Is it an ideal road?
It is.
And not.
So, done. What next?
Normal, just do it right to left.
All right. What are the normal forces? Rope will generally reserve for tension.
Between the boy and the sled,
Okay. Asking which way on the boy.
down towards the sled.
So normal force is pulling down.
Or, sorry, it's going up.
So normal force is holding them up.
Up on the boy and down on the sled.
Needs to be the same subscript. Twice a B. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, the normal force pulling up on the sled. As well as the rest.
From a language point of view, normal forces don't pull.
Yep. but the arrow is pointing up on the sled.
Okay, yeah. What's causing this up on the sled?
It's a normal force,
From?
the ground.
Okay, so the ground is pushing up on the sled's pushing down on the ground.
Yep.
It's that normal force right there, the sled pushes down on the ground, which leaves the tracks in the snow. Any other normal force pair? And? Yes, that is. I hope so. Or do you want the dad to fall into a hole? No, you don't. Okay, my dad maybe, but not this dad. All right, so we have pair, pair, pair. The only other thing that's touching is the rope, and for that we'll use tension. So normal, done. All right. Tension. In reference to the force, not in reference to the atmosphere, right?
The rope and the sled.
All right, acting which way on what?
I guess the angle of the rope.
Okay. When your hand gesture, it looked like you were going horizontal on that one. I don't know if that was your intent. It should be at an angle. So this is tension here, and then
Yes.
tension there.
And then the hands and the rope.
All right, and again, it's pulling on the ends of the rope, and they're in opposite directions. And this is the type of situation where they know it's between the hands and the rope, and so, you know, they'll draw that tension going down at an angle like that towards the tip of the rope, and that is not what you should be doing. We have only one rope. If you did subscripts, those would have the same subscript, and those would have the same subscript, but it is, since it's an ideal rope, we don't have to worry about that. And so now friction. Friction requires contact. As a matter of fact, it requires a normal force. So I've got three normal force pairs, here, here, and here. So that's where the friction is going to be acting. I am going to direct this a little bit in terms of complexity. So why don't we start out with sled and ground. Which way is friction acting on the sled from the ground? We got a couple people, actually, we got a majority of people pointing in the correct direction. What color have I not used yet? This is the friction on the sled, and the friction on the sled. All right, questions up to here? All right. The dad and the ground. Well, we basically have two choices here. So let's try out a little bit of physics by democracy. So friction on dad from ground. It's either to the right or to the left. If you don't know, if you can think through it, great. If you don't know, just go with your gut feeling. If you have absolutely no gut feeling, just randomly pick one. All right, let's move from left to right. Who says that the friction acting on the dad is to the left? Looks like we have 4. Who says it's going to the right? Looks like we were at 4.
You're the tiebreaker.
Or there's somebody whose hand I missed. And it's always one of those things, how much time do I spend making sure everybody actually votes or that I see everyone vote? I've taken it too far in the past and I've not done it enough other times. I am gonna try one more time. I wanna be able to see. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's, you know, one of many times we'll all be wrong. Left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now the next step, somebody who voted one way or the other, which would be everybody in here, justification for it. Jacob?
So I chose that is acting to the right. And my justification is so the sled is sliding, but he's actually pushing off of the ground to go to the right. So the force is gonna be to the right on the dad,
And,
because he's pushing against the ground.
all right, and a vote, somebody who said to the left, wanna stand up and just go, Jacob, God, what were you thinking?
It's because he's also moving to the right along with the sled, and friction is wanting to, prevent that.
All right, so appreciate you both speaking up. Obviously, one of them is right, one of them is not. It is actually going this way. Now, for those who voted the other direction, the classic example, I think Ian basically laid it out. He's going to the right and friction opposes that. And this is the trap. Or the trick, probably better wording. Trap makes it sound like I've set you up for failure. I set you up for learning. So he's going this way, all right. All right, if you ever work for DuPont, there are a couple other companies, but DuPont's the one I have most experience with. If you ever work for DuPont, do not do the following. You will be written up for it. I was walking down the stairs, really wide stairs, walking down the stairs and did not have my hand on the railing. I was told I needed to stop walking down the steps until I had my hand on the rail. There was a